Hey friends, Ash here with Gents with another week in fragrance. In case you're unaware of what these videos are, it's basically where I talk about upcoming fragrance releases, their notes, and maybe some of my general thoughts on those upcoming releases. Toward the end of 2019, almost the last 3 months of 2019, it felt like, there were really no big announcements. You would have one fragrance here or there, but no mass announcements of new fragrances. But the beginning of 2020 has rectified that. There have been lots of new fragrances announced. I covered a bunch of those in the last couple of videos that I did for this week in fragrance, and I have even more today. We've got a lot of new fragrances to talk about, so let's just jump right into this. You know what the big major announcements are based off the title of the video, but there are lots of other fragrances to talk about as well. The first one that I want to talk about is Kenzo Low Kenzo Hyper Wave. Obviously, a new fragrance from the house of Kenzo, and this is in their Low Kenzo collection. This is going to be released in February 2020. There is a men's and a women's version of this fragrance. According to the brand, this is a fragrance duo dedicated to lovers of freedom and vivid adventures. The compositions are signed by Olivier Cresp and Alexandra Monet, and they're said to be light, lively, and sparkling. Low Kenzo Pour Femme Hyperwave is based on a note of lotus flower complemented by orange blossom and zesty pink grapefruit. The fragrance is announced as an ultra-fresh anthem to life and youth. Low Kenzo Pour Homme Hyperwave, the men's version, is a scent of sea accords combined with citruses and moss. It is dedicated to the bold and playful youth as a modern aquatic and aromatic scent. So they haven't given us many notes to go off of here. Sea accords, citruses, moss. That's it. 3 notes. So obviously, with that note breakdown, there's no real way to tell how it's going to smell other than it's going to be a citrusy aquatic. A lot of people will call those the most basic type of fragrances, but they do make really good spring and summertime fragrances in general, assuming it's pulled off well, and they're typically very versatile and compliment pulling. Kenzo doesn't seem to get a huge amount of love in the fragrance community, but there are a number of Kenzo fragrances that have been released over the years that are surprisingly very, very good. Next up, I'm going to talk about Zadig and Voltaire. This is Love. Yeah, I realize that a lot of you out there probably haven't heard of this brand, haven't bought any of their fragrances, don't have any of their clothing, but there is a small clique out there in the community that really likes this fragrance house. So, This is Love. Again, another fragrance duo. One for men, one for women. This is Love for Her is a floral gourmand from the house. A quiver of ginger, sensual notes of violet and vanilla. The addiction of warm, voluptuous sandalwood, a fragrance that seduces she who wears it and he whose path she crosses. You've got to love these write-ups. It's one of the things I always talk about in these videos. Some of these brands really go for it. These ones, not too bad, but some of the ones that we'll talk about, it gets a little more out there when they describe these fragrances. This is Love for Him, a woody aromatic, a quiver of bergamot, an explosion of orange blossom, the addiction of warm, voluptuous sandalwood, a sensual, addictive fragrance. There we go. These fragrances come in 30, 50, and 100 milliliter eau de toilette size. I myself have actually still not smelled a single fragrance from this house, so maybe I'll pick this one up just to see how it is. Nothing in the note breakdown really jumps out and grabs me, but again, to be fair, they're giving us 3 notes to work with based off of this. Bergamot, orange blossom, sandalwood. Next up is a Tom Ford fragrance. This one is called Rose Prick. This one actually was announced on Facebook before it was announced on any of the websites that typically have new fragrance announcements. So this is one where the bottles of Rose Prick started floating around in different Facebook groups before anybody else had really said that it existed. I actually had sent a picture of Rose Prick the first time I saw it on Facebook to my friend Manny at Cascade Scents, and then he made a post about it there, and I think that was a couple months ago, or at least it feels like it was. But now it has been officially announced by Tom Ford. For the beginning of 2020, Tom Ford has prepared the launch of a new perfume from his exclusive private blend collection. The collection that represents his personal fragrance lab, where he imagines special fragrances for collectors and connoisseurs. The fragrance, called Rose Prick, comes in a dusty pink matte bottle of the standard chest piece shape characteristic to the line and handles the rose note in a juicy, flowery, and full-bodied way. And just for those of you keeping score at home, Tom Ford had Effing Fabulous, and then he had Lost Cherry, and now Rose Prick. So his last three fragrances, he's really kind of going for it. Some people are going to think it's ballsy, some people are going to think that that's funny, people are going to approach that a lot of different ways, some people even will be offended, and I think that at this point, maybe it's starting to get worn out, maybe not. I mean, how many of those types of fragrances do you need, one after the other, before you're just like, okay, I get it. Rose Prick. Get it? Like, you can get pricked by the thorn of the rose, and also like prick, which can have a couple different meanings, but yeah. Inspired by his own rose garden of the famous and provocative American designer, Rose Prick is heralded as a wonderfully wild bouquet of exquisite varieties of roses, May, Turkish, and Bulgarian, and their spiky, interlocking stems that intertwine and combine their flowers in pink perfection. Aromatic spice extracts give additional character to the bouquet, while Indonesian patchouli and roasted tonka beans provide a pleasant warmth at the base of the perfume. So this one has a top of Sichuan pepper and turmeric, a heart of May rose, Turkish rose, and Bulgarian rose, and then a base of patchouli and tonka bean. The newest private blend, Rose Prick. And next up is the fragrance that I imagine most of you are most excited for. It is Giorgio Armani, Emporio Armani, Stronger With You Freeze, which is for the men, and In Love With You Freeze, which is for the women. Obviously, Stronger With You Freeze is a flanker in the Stronger With You line that has Stronger With You and Stronger With You Intensely. First, we'll talk about the women's release, In Love With You Freeze. It's a fruity floriental with notes of bergamot, cherry, pear, mandarin, jasmine, peony, lily of the valley, patchouli, vetiver, and white musk. Whereas the men's Stronger With You Freeze is a woody citrus fougere with notes of lime, ginger, mandarin, apple, lavender, sage, bourbon geranium, cardamom, candied chestnut, amberwoods, gaiac, and vanilla. So there's a lot going on in there. These are already available in Italy at Sephora's in Italy and should be available shortly in the US. And this is one I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open for to pop up at stores in Europe that ship to the US, which is ever dwindling. Most stores in Europe will not ship fragrances to the US, and if they do ship them, then shipping is completely outrageous and will sometimes cost you just as much as the fragrance. So let's take a look at this one here and break these notes down. We have lime, ginger, mandarin, apple. Those are likely all top notes, I would say. So that looks like it's going to have a very brisk, sweet, fruity opening. You've got a combo of lime and mandarin, so two citruses in there. Ginger is used heavily in men's fragrances. It's got that fresh, spicy, sometimes brisk sort of opening when you've got ginger in there. And then apple, which is a note that lots of guys out there love in their fragrances. Then heading through the mid and into the base, it looks like it's going to have lavender, sage, bourbon geranium, cardamom, candied chestnut, amberwood, gaiac, and vanilla. So it's carrying over the chestnut from the other fragrances in this line. This one coming across as a candied chestnut, again expecting more sweetness from that note. Amberwood in the base of the fragrance is a note that I've talked about a whole lot on this channel. Amberwood is similar to Ambroxan. Ambroxan, for a while after Dior Sauvage came out, was basically the most popular aroma chemical in men's fragrances. Nowadays, I would say Amberwood is possibly more popular than Ambroxan. It's similar to Ambroxan, which I've said a million times, only with more of a woody type vibe from the aroma chemical. That's just a very simplistic way of breaking that down, which I say every time. If you want more information, you can Google that up. But yeah, it's got all of those notes, and then added sweetness looks like from vanilla. Bourbon geranium, I'm assuming, is going to have a little bit of like a deeper kind of vibe to it. And then, of course, cardamom, which is a spice that most people love. Sweet, spicy, sexy. One thing I don't get necessarily looking through the note breakdown is where freeze comes into play. I'm assuming that this is going to be a little more of a springtime or possibly even summertime version of Stronger With You. It is heavy on the top notes there with the lime, ginger, mandarin, apple. Lavender can come across icy at times depending on how it's used. And some of these notes can come across very fresh. So it would not surprise me if this is going for a sweet and yet fresher take on Stronger With You. Not that the original Stronger With You was not sweet. Just saying, looking at this note breakdown. Unfortunately, I don't have a write-up from the brand where they tell you about how amazing it is and all the ways that this is different and how it's going to revolutionize perfumery and stuff like that, but that is the note breakdown. Next up, a new Azzaro Chrome. This one is called Azzaro Chrome Extreme. From the brand, inspired by oceanic strength, Chrome Extreme is an electrifying juice concentrated with adrenaline. That's what I'm talking about. A real invigorating aquatic experience. His first green tangerine accords, and I'm assuming when they say his, they're talking about the fragrance, like Azzaro Chrome Extreme, his. So that's who we're talking about here. Anyway, his first green tangerine accords awaken the senses and take us to the heart of a thrilling expedition. Also, juniper berries provide all the intensity necessary to make this olfactory moment a real power shoot. I don't know if something's lost in translation here, but a real power shoot. The amber trail leaves a virile signature, the promise of a unique moment for men looking for exceptional adventures. Followers of crazy sensations, authentic moments, Azzaro takes you into the depths of the seabed to discover its new treasure, Chrome Extreme. So, are you ready for the adventure? That's their write-up, so yeah. It has green tangerine, juniper berries, amber, and aquatic notes. At least that's what I can glean from this. I think Azzaro did a pretty good job of hyping that one up, so I'll just leave that one there. But yeah, new Chrome coming out very soon. As always, with Azzaro Chrome flankers, if you're interested in that one, just wait a little bit and it will hit discounters and you'll save a ton of money. We've got two more fragrances to talk about here. Next up, from Calvin Klein, it is their newest summer flanker for Eternity. Eternity Summer 2020. There are a lot of designer houses out there that have specific fragrances that they release summer editions of each year. This is one of them for Calvin Klein, but not the only one that they release a summer edition for each year, because they also have CK1. And there are some people that actually just collect the CK1 summer flankers because they'll occasionally have cool bottles like this. I don't have a fancy write-up for Eternity Summer 2020, I just have the notes, so here they are. A top of bergamot, sage, and star anise, a mid of osmanthus, coconut, and saffron, and a base of incense, labdanum, and sandalwood. That, to me, is an interesting breakdown for a summer fragrance. You have bergamot, sage, and star anise, so right away I'm kind of like, okay, I'm throwing the sage and star anise in the top. It doesn't typically jive with what I would expect from a summertime fragrance. The bergamot makes sense, but then into the mid, osmanthus, coconut, and saffron, which that seems odd. Coconut has been popping up in more men's fragrances here lately, probably most popularly in Le Beau, the new Jean Paul Gaultier. But yeah, saffron and osmanthus in there, that throws me off a little bit too. And then in the base, incense, labdanum, and sandalwood. The sandalwood I could see, sandalwood can come across creamy, depending on how it's used, it can come across soft, a little bit sweet, and that could make sense. Then you have labdanum and incense, which I would more commonly associate with fall and wintertime fragrance. So we have notes in here that have like a resinous kind of vibe, a deeper ambery kind of vibe. You have incense, which is typically smoky, of course. Saffron, which is a spice that is very often used hand in hand with oud or more fall-centered spicy fragrances that feature cardamom and saffron and things like that. You have osmanthus in there. Just like I said, it doesn't read like a summer fragrance. So assuming the website I got this off has the notes correct, that is a strange breakdown. But who knows, maybe it will work fantastically for summer. Or for all I know, all these notes that are listed like incense and labdanum will be barely noticeable, and then it's going to be just a bergamot, coconut, and sandalwood fragrance. Who knows? Last up is L'Homme Rojas. Yes, from the creators of Rojas Man. This one has a top of blood orange, pineapple, and cardamom, a mid of juniper, geranium, and basil, and a base of patchouli, moss, and tonka. This one, of course, is going to get people's attention because it has pineapple in the opening as one of the notes. Hopefully this is not another Aventus designer style fragrance. You never know. I don't think it will be, looking at this note breakdown, but you never know. That is a house that doesn't really get talked about very much. They don't come out with fragrances super often, and when they do, they usually just kind of get swept to the side. I will try to pick that one up just in case. You never know, it could be a hidden gem. And if I am able to pick that up at a good price, I'll make sure to show you guys here how it smells. And that one is going to wrap up this week in fragrance. So some big announcements, some big fragrances coming out. Again, I would think that most of you out there are looking forward to Stronger With You Freeze the most, since that is a very popular line of fragrances with the two that have come out already. And then we've got a lot of, I guess you would call, smaller releases from designer houses out there. Chrome Extreme, some people might be really pumped for, and then Rose Prick. You know, I'm sure it's great. I'll try to get that. All right, guys, let me know in the comments below which of these fragrances you're looking forward to smelling the most. Which ones of these fragrances do you think are going to be the best, and which ones do you think are going to be complete failures? As always, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for checking out another week in fragrance, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.